Do you hear what I hear? Said the little lamb to the shepherd boy. I'm just saying, the shepherd's been out with the sheep a little too long. If the sheep are talking to him, bah! Oh, really? We better go tell the mighty king. I'm just saying, something wrong with that. A child shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. How about a blanket? Or some warm milk? The kid's freezing to death, but he's loaded. I mean, come on. Who wrote this song? And why do we continue to sing it? Sometimes things are unexpected. Do we look for the unexpected? You can go ahead and answer that. Tell them Merry Christmas for me. But do we look for Jesus in the unexpected? You see, we tend to look at the Christmas story and read it as a story and take everything for face value and just say, wow, that's pretty cool how all that worked out, just great. But if you really get down and you really look at it, you find that it's really a lot of unexpected things that took place. I don't know if you know this or not about the birth of Jesus, but it was a pretty big deal. It changed a lot of things for everyone. There are around 365 Messianic prophecies in the Old Testament. So Messianic prophecy would be Old Testament prophets would proclaim that these certain things would be true about the Messiah who was to come. 365 of them. 13%, so around 49, at least 49 of those prophecies were fulfilled just in the birth of Jesus. So this is no ordinary birth. But it was unexpected nonetheless. We look at the stories and we look at the Gospels and we see that there were women in the line of Jesus. And we think, well, duh. It's usually a given when there's a child involved. But then it was unexpected to find women listed in the genealogy of specifically a man. But these women, they weren't even Israelites. And when we look even closer at their lives, we see that sexual immorality was something we see in 3 of the 4. Yet they're specifically mentioned in Jesus' story. We see that Mary is visited by the angel Gabriel, and this young girl, I won't even say she's a woman, this young girl, she was between 12 and 14 years of age. She had already been pledged to be married to Joseph, who was a blue-collar carpenter. He wasn't a king, he wasn't royalty, he was a carpenter. Mary was just a young girl. But yet these two were the two that were chosen to be the parents of the Messiah. Then we find that shepherds, some of the lowliest in social structure at that time, were the first witnesses to see the Messiah that had been born. It wasn't the kings, it wasn't the rich and the powerful, it was the shepherds who were the first to come. We find that Jesus would grow up in Nazareth. One of Jesus' even disciples makes the statement, "Does anything good come out of Nazareth?" Kind of unexpected. In John 7, verse 52, the Pharisees make this statement. They say, "Look into it, and you will find that a prophet does not come out of Galilee." We'll see Nazareth was in Galilee. But what they didn't know about Jesus was that Jesus wasn't from Nazareth. He wasn't from Galilee. You see, Jesus was born in Bethlehem, which is in Judea, which just happens to be the prophecy that says that the Messiah would come from Judea. Well, how in the world did they end up in Bethlehem? Because Mary and Joseph were both from Nazareth. Oh, coincidentally, that blue-collar carpenter just happens to be from the line or the genealogy, the family tree of King David. And it just so happens that there was a greedy emperor at that time who wanted his money. And so he called for a census to be taken. And that census required for everyone to go to their hometown and to report. So Joseph takes Mary and they go to Bethlehem, where Jesus is born. While they were there, it says that the time had come. The baby was coming, and there was no getting out of Bethlehem. But it also tells us that there was no place for them, because everyone was traveling, so the inn was full. The hotel, Motel Express, Holiday Inn, all filled up. And so they find the next luxury suite, a cave. In Luke 2:7, we see the word for the inn as kataluma. Well, that word is only used twice in the entire New Testament. It's used here in Luke 2:7, saying that they were turned away because there was no room for them. But then we find it again in Luke 22:11 to describe the place where Jesus would sit in a room, in an upper room, and he would share his last meal with his disciples, which we now know as the Last Supper. The word symbolizing the place that was once turned away from was the place where he would celebrate life with his disciples, signifying the purpose of why he had truly come. The place where he once was turned away became the place where he was accepted and approved. But this Messiah, this baby that was born in a cave. It was cold. There was no heat except the animals to keep you warm. It says that the baby was placed in a manger. Well, you see, we in our English language, we like to make everyone feel good. And so we like to make words sound a lot nicer than they really are. What it meant to say was a pig trough. Pigs had eaten out of the bed that Jesus now laid in. Think about that. Nobody's signing up today to have their kids in your barn. You're not renting out space for pregnant women to have their kids, right? We'd consider that inhumane. But there were places that were cleaner. But yet, this is the place where the Messiah was born. This wasn't a place of security. It wasn't a place of solitude. Just because the Messiah was born does not mean all the cows stopped mooing. It didn't mean that they all stopped doing the other stuff that they do. You see, Jesus was born in a cave to identify with the least, the people on the margins of society, the vulnerable. Jesus did not demand the comforts and the protections of the world. He came into this world like all of us did. He's the Son of God. One day, Jesus could have just appeared and been 30 years old and spent the next 3 years trying to teach these ragtag bunch of guys what it meant to be a follower of Jesus. But no, he literally lived life just like we did. Why was this such a big surprise that shepherds were the first ones to come to see the Messiah? That the Messiah was born in a cave and laid in a pig trough. Why was that so surprising? Because that wasn't good enough for the rich and the powerful. You see, they expected this Messiah that was to come to rid them of the oppression that they were under the Romans by. And so they expected this mighty, spectacular coming. That everyone would know that it took place. But nobody knew except Joseph and Mary, and then some shepherds once the angel came and told them. No crowds waiting outside. Beyonce's baby was not being born. The paparazzi was not standing outside the hotel or the wherever they decided to have their kid. For days. No, it was them. This was totally unexpected. The Pharisees, the teachers of the law, who knew everything about the prophecies. They knew all 365 of them. But yet they couldn't see it. They didn't even know Jesus was from Bethlehem. They just knew that he was from Nazareth and he was a carpenter. Well, it tells us that Mary wrapped Jesus in cloths. It wasn't a typo. The E was not left out. It was not clothes. They did not put him in a onesie. It was cloths. Specifically, sparaganu, which means swaddling clothes. See, I just said it. Swaddling cloths. But you see, here's the thing about the sparaganu. Only people who had money had swaddling cloths. This wasn't just something that you had open access to. You see, if you were not wealthy, your child ran around naked. That was the custom. That was what happened. It wasn't look at, no, it was that, well, there goes another one. The new kid in town type of thing. Now think about it. Here's this child. This angel has just appeared to the shepherds and tells them that the Messiah has been born and that you'll find him wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger. Now, if you're a shepherd, you're thinking, okay, this doesn't make any sense, because translating in the shepherd's mind, you will find the Messiah wrapped in wealthy people's cloths, lying in a pig trough. It's a little unexpected. You see, the only way we can explain is that somehow someone with money gave these swaddling cloths to Mary before she left to go to Bethlehem. But you see, the Messiah, the King, who was royalty, was dressed for the part, but yet he came for us. There's no glamour about it. He did not come to draw a crowd, but he simply came to teach the ways of God. He came to show love to people who never felt love before. He came for the lowly. But you see, he also came for the rich and the powerful. But you see, the thing is about the rich and powerful, they need to realize before they'll see the significance of Jesus that they are just in the same position as the person who's begging for money on the street. There's no difference between their two souls. Without Jesus, their soul is lost. You know, we didn't plan this. Stevie and Riley sang the song Noel. A couple of years ago when that song came out, it became one of my favorite Christmas songs. Especially when I found out what Noel actually means. And I think it's something that we miss out on a lot. In the song they say, Noel, come and see what the Lord has done. Come and see what the Lord has done. But Noel translates, all is well. All is well. So when we sing Noel, we sing it around Christmas time because it's in relation to the birth of the Messiah. You see, the people in that time had waited 400 years. God had been silent. God was not speaking to the people. Their connection with God was missing. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gone through what some psychologists refer to as the dark night of the soul? It's a period of your life where you have a relationship with God. You have a relationship with Jesus Christ. But it seems like He's the farthest away humanly possible from you. That it seems like nothing in your life is going right. That the world is just caving in on you. And you ask yourself, where is God? Have you ever felt that way? Let me preface that because some of you are like, no, I am very spiritual. So let me help you out a little bit. It happens to those who are spiritual. Mother Teresa actually said that when she first went to Calcutta and started her ministry there among the lepers, that for 3 years she felt like God was non-existent in her life. She didn't stop believing in God. She knew she was doing what God wanted her to do, but she just felt like her life was just full of darkness. It happens. And the thing that they find is that sometimes it happens to the people who are the closest in their relationship to God. So it's okay if you've gone through it. I've gone through it. You've probably gone through it. For some people, it's weeks. For some people, it's years. Can you imagine the Israelites longing for the Messiah, having not heard from God for 400 years? 400 years, nothing. But God breaks that silence with the unexpected. He breaks that silence with the cry of a baby. The cry of a baby. You see, in that moment, when Jesus entered the world and he let out that first cry, history at that moment was transformed. Your life was transformed. They heard from their Messiah. But you see, they were looking in all the wrong places. They were looking for the powerful, but he came as the meek. They were looking for a warrior, but he came as the Prince of Peace. He came, and his cry proclaimed, Noel. The thing I love about the Christmas season is because it seems like no matter what's going on in your life, this isn't always true, but it seems like there's a joy in the air. I hate snow, but I've got a joy in my spirit right now for some reason. It's just in me. Yeah, I've got stuff going on in my life that I wish was better, but I'm not thinking about it right now. There's just something about this time. Well, you see, what I find for myself is that word comes to me. Noel. All is well. All is well. Is your life out of control? Is stress carrying you down? Are you overwhelmed with the thought of the bill that's going to come in January? Are you concerned about the next few days when you get all the family together and you celebrate together? Are you worried about what's going to be said or done at these things? I want you to remind yourself that all is well. That wherever you are in your life right now, whatever you're facing, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Because all is well. You see, the place where you come to when you're struggling in life, when you can come to a point in your life and you can say those things, and you can say, all is well, and have a comfort in it, that's when you know, truly all is well. Yesterday we had lunch with my aunt, who's not a follower of Jesus, unfortunately. A few years ago, her husband died at age of 56 from cancer. Love of her life tore her apart. She's going to a counselor. She's doing everything that she can. One of the things that they loved together was the Christmas season. Their front little sitting room of their house was literally one of those snow villages. Like the whole thing was this big snow village. They loved collecting those things and setting them up. She can't do it. She hasn't decorated for Christmas in over 2 years. At Thanksgiving, I told her, I said, one step at a time. What can you do this year? Don't worry about all the else. What can you do this year? Well, she told me yesterday she got a Christmas tree. Well, like 4.5-foot Christmas tree. Pre-lit, didn't have to do anything. She doesn't have one ornament on it. But she got the Christmas tree. She said that her counselor told her that she had a breakthrough finally. She was like, didn't think much of it at the time, but it was a breakthrough. She had a fire in the fireplace. And she was able to have the fire going, have the Christmas tree right next to it, and watch football. That's what they did on their time off together. They would have a fire in the fireplace and they would watch football together. And she was able to do it for the first time. And she said these things, and that's why I tell you this whole story. She said this, I just had a peace. I really wanted to tell her what that peace was. But I think she would have lost the whole picture. But being able to say in the midst of the darkness, even in the midst of the happiness, that all is well. When we look into the future of this next year, some of us can get caught up in so much worry about what's going to happen in the next year. Don't worry about it. Know that it's going to be okay. All is well. And I'm going to proclaim this to you right now because it's something that I've been struggling with. Okay, a month ago, I had that whole appendectomy thing, and then I was like, remember I said, I'm thankful during Thanksgiving for a wife that forced me to go to the hospital because I didn't want to go because they didn't want to pay for it. So good thing she took me, right? Well, the bills started coming. I do the finances in my house. I know how much is in my bank account, and that number's scaring me. And I'm starting to worry. I'm starting to get stressed. I'm starting to worry about, I'm like, another Christmas gift? Why do we need another Christmas? I'm stressing and I'm worrying about it. But I know it's going to be okay. I know it's going to be okay. We might have to move some things around. We might have to be more diligent with what we're doing, but it's going to be okay. A bill is not going to ruin my life. Why? Because Noel. Because that bill is not going to control my life. God is going to control my life. But you have to make that choice. That choice has to be yours. What will you celebrate tomorrow? What will you celebrate? I've got kids, okay? I've got kids. They want to tear into the gifts. Jennifer, no, go get the Bible. I'm like, oh, fine. They go get the Bible. They read Luke 2, 1 through 20. We did it last night. They read it. They're ready to dive into gifts. No. What's the true meaning of Christmas? And we ask them these questions. And when we know that they know, why do we give gifts? So we go into all that. Why do we do that? I mean, they're kids. Let them be kids, right? I am. God tells me I'm supposed to teach my children the way they should go. And so what I want my kids to do is when they have kids, I want my grandkids to know that Christmas is not about the gifts under the tree. It's about celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. What will you celebrate tomorrow? What will you celebrate? My prayer for you and for all of us is that we will be able to say, Noel, all is well. Stand with me. If you'll reach out your hands and receive this blessing. Jesus, we proclaim as your people, Noel. We proclaim that all is well, regardless of what's going on in our life, whether it's the best time or the worst times in our life. We want to stand in the assurance, in the faith of knowing that all is well. Jesus, I want each of us to be able to say, come and see. Come and see what the Lord has done. Because of what he's done in each one of us. God, I pray that we would receive you as the true gift of Christmas. I pray that you would not be overshadowed by any tradition, anything, except the fact that you are God. And you came as one of us to be with us, our Emmanuel. And God, we proclaim that all is well. And because we know it, we're going to go and tell everyone about it.